Hello there, and welcome to my program today. This is Doris Fenter of Library Arts, and I'm here to work with you on a drawing of a polar bear family today. So we're taking our inspiration from this beautiful picture of a polar bear mother and two cubs. And you'll notice that this is a very neutral colored photograph with a lot of earth tones. You'll see tans, beiges, but we always think of polar bears being white. Well, artists usually take their inspiration from nature, but then they bring their own elements. So what I've done here is I've recreated the image of the three polar bears. We've kept in the neutral tones of the polar bears as you would see them, but we've also brought in some beautiful blues and greens and purples to create more of a nighttime scene with the three bears. And then we're using some techniques called hatching and cross-hatching to create the shadows. This is a color pencil drawing on copy paper, so the materials are simple: pencil, color pencils, and copy paper. So let's get started. And I'm wondering, did you notice a little surprise in the picture? See if you can find the little surprise that I've tucked in between the three bears. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about the supplies you'll be needing today. This is, by the way, the inspiration for our drawing today. It's a family of polar bears, and I love the composition of the three bears together. And so that is going to be the inspiration for our drawing. We're going to bring a lot more color to the picture, but this is just an 8.5 by 11 printout of an image I found online. So you're going to need an 8.5 by 11 sheet of regular copy paper. You're going to want a pencil to start with, and we're going to lightly sketch it in pencil. I often use marker, but I think in this case pencil is better. Now I have created from that photograph a really simple rough outline, but I'm going to walk you through the hills and valleys of this drawing, and I've simplified it so that it shouldn't be difficult for you to draw. So we're going to put our 8.5 by 11 paper on top. I got my light here to add a little brightness, and make sure your paper is in vertical or portrait format, and we're going to start sketching the outline of the three bears. We're going to start with the mother bear on top, and we're going to start with a light hill and a little valley, very lightly, and we're just going to make a few hills and valleys as we go up to this point. So it's a gentle diagonal hill and valley sort of line. We're going to come and make a small mountain, which is actually going to be a polar bear ear, and now we're going to look like we're going down a ski slope. We're going to come with a little bump, down, 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 and stop. So you see we're doing sort of the forehead of the bear. We're going to go around the bump of the eye, come down diagonally again, and stop. You basically have the head, the ear, partial face around the eye, and now we're getting to the nose. So we're going to come down with a gentle curve, a few little bumps. That's the exterior of the nose, another little bump, and a slight diagonal. That makes part of the mouth. Now come back in here, we'll give a little detail to the ear, eye, and nose. So I want you to do a sort of up, down, and around and down for the nose. For the eye, it's sort of a subtle diagonal. You're just going to put a little worm-like shape. And over here, think about going about, 1.5 inches in. You're going to start with a light curve, come around like a C shape, and you're going to put a soft triangle inside for the inner ear. So you basically have the mother polar bear done. That wasn't so bad, was it? Now for the baby, the first baby, we're going to first start with a light arch, like a rainbow arch. We're going to come to the left, do a curve, and go downwards. We're going to form the other ear now. We're going to go just about the same height, a curve, and go downward. So you got the two ears, and then just take that line at a diagonal slightly, down, 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 and stop. We're going to add 2 eyes. Again, similar to the little like worm shapes here, just little slits, because everybody's sort of sleepy in this picture, aren't they? So we're going to have 2 little slits. Like this nose, we're going to be adding a nose over here with a little bit of a curve. Down and around and over to the beginning again. We're going to add a little bridge to the nose here, lightly. We're going to finish the bear's face by curving down, around, touching the nose, and adding a little bit of a mouth. We're going to add a little inner ear shape here, a little curve that comes back to the head. And we're going to make a skinny, skinny little wiggly line to make the inside of that ear. Look, you've already got 2 bears done. Amazing how fast that went. Now let's go down to the third bear. Let's start here at the second bear's nose. We're going to start a bumpy line just going down at a diagonal to the edge of the page. That's starting at the back of the bear. Now let's continue up with a diagonal, curving it slightly over like we're going up a long gradual hill. We're going to make another soft mountain, which will be like the ear we did on the mother's head. We'll come back to this line, go around, down, curving inwards, and stop. Now we're getting to the bear's nose. Curve around, stop. Now, like this nose, we're just going to curve in a little, up a little, and over to the edge. There's a little mouth, partially open like another squiggle, very much like these eye shapes we've been doing. And part of the bear's mouth comes down and over, very lightly. Now, let's get the bear's eye in here. Same kind of squiggly little eye right over here. And the ear is a similar curve to these 2. It arches up like a horseshoe, comes down. Then there's another arch to show the inside of the ear. Over here, we're going to make the leg of that small bear. So we're going to come up to the mouth area, soft curve, light diagonal down, and a light diagonal to echo the first one we just made. Now over here, we're going to see the rest of the mother bear's body coming in, coming from the nose and down. Now I have a little surprise for this picture. I don't know if you noticed it before, but I decided to take advantage of that little V shape and turn it into a little heart. So we have this sneaky little heart in our picture, which I think adds a nice little fun twist that's symbolic of the relationship between the 3 bears. We're going to hide a little heart in there. Now, I think that we have all the things needed to get this picture started now. You have the mother bear, the eye, the nose, the 2 eyes, the head of the second bear, the little bear coming in. And now we're going to next talk about color. So when we get to the color portion of this picture, I'm just going to continue that line there. We're going to be using color pencil, which I think is really ideal for this picture. So color pencil is best. Crayons or pastels could also work, but I do think color pencil is best for this. So I'll talk about colors next, and then we'll start adding color to the image. See you in a minute. Okay, so let's think a little bit about color now. So surprisingly, when you think of a polar bear, everybody wants to think of a white polar bear. But if we take a closer look at our picture here, polar bears are really in the golden yellow category. So we're going to be using a lot of golden yellows, maybe this little light brown. For the shadows and other interesting shadow dark areas of the bear, we're going to be using a combination of blue, greens, and a little bit of purple, which I have here. So I want you to have a combination of yellows for the beginning and greens, blues, and purples for the second portion of the picture. And then just remember that we will also need a black for details like the nose, the eyes, things like that. Little areas, not really big areas, but we will want to have a black. So let's get started by adding just a very light layer with our color pencil of yellow on the mother polar bear here, or what I'm presuming to be the mother polar bear. We're just going to put a very soft layer so that we can then go back later and we can build it up. You might even want to leave a few white spots because it doesn't have to be that the bear is all yellow. So you can leave a few white spots here and there if you want, maybe around the ears. But I'm going to put a light golden yellow, and we're just going to work on the mother bear at first so we can kind of get a sense of where we want to go with this picture. And we're not even dealing with the background yet. That'll come much later. So the mother bear's body does come down. And notice how I'm holding behind this child's, the little baby bear's body. And notice how I'm holding the color pencil. I'm putting so little pressure and letting my wrist move freely because I don't want the color to go down heavy. This is a very, very light layer of yellow that we're just blocking in the bear with. Now, what we could do here is just go a tiny bit heavier in the ear because we're going to start bringing in a little bit of contrast, and that's where this more golden yellow could come in, just to bring a little more attention, make it stand out from the rest of the golden yellows that we see. And inside the ear, instead of doing a shadowy black, I'm actually going to go for some blue, which seems, what's that all about? But as I told you, we're going to be using the blues to create the shadows in our picture. And we will use the blacks around the eyes. But we want to create a little bit of a feeling of shadow here. Now we also want to feel like there's a little bit of shadow where the ear hits the rest of the body. So we're going to bring in that nice warm brown here to start to create that shadow. And we do want to feel like we're actually giving the bear some texture. So you can come in here and you can start making some lines that suggest fur, like this. Maybe even in the ear, we can suggest with little marks the fur on the ear. But again, you're just kind of suggesting it by making marks without putting a lot of pressure on. Because again, we want this feeling of fur without it being really heavy duty. So I'm just doing a little diagonal soft marks with the brown. I'm going to probably come in with that golden orange and do some with that too, just to suggest the fur over that pale yellow. The bears are really going to be in contrast to the background, which is going to probably be a beautiful blue sky, like a night sky, starry sky. Come down here. And around the, where the bears touch each other, like right in here, we're going to add some more blue tones there. But for now, I'm just getting these really pretty tan tones in here, just to suggest the fur in that kind of beigey, yellowish color that we talked about before, that we actually see the bear having. So I'm gonna come over here, again on top of the bear's face, adding some little marks. And we are gonna darken it up around the top. Now my picture is falling a little bit, so let me fix that. There we go. Now it's not gonna fall. And that's just the photograph that we were using. Now this ear, I'm gonna put that yellow on that ear again. Bring in some of the golden yellow and the brown to again suggest that this ear is a little darker, a little more shadowy. And right near the muzzle of the mother, there's a little bit of shadowiness. I'm going to bring some blue in there shortly, but I just want to again get this fur articulated here, just showing the fur coming off and around the mother's face with light marks of tan. Very, very pale. Again, using my wrist to do that. Okay, so if you really do want to introduce that nice black, we can do that right here for the eye, just to kind of get a sense of that eye coming in. And we can do it here for the nose. I know people are eager to make their polar bear look as realistic as possible, and you're going to say, what about those blues and greens you keep talking about? Well, we're going to bring those in around the muzzle, which around a lot of animals tends to have a more dirty quality or darker quality because of, they eat. And when they eat, they're going to get darkness. So, just a close-up. You can see I'm using very pale little strokes. We've given a little attention to the eye and the nose. Now we're going to start introducing some of those blues that I've been talking about. So let's start with some purples. Right here, there's going to be purple shadowy lines where the baby's head is meeting in with the mother's head, around the ears too. And this is the marks I'm using right now are called hatch marks. They're just a way of building up shadows slowly. And we're going to do that over here too as it goes around the other ear of the other bear. And we're going to use these blue tones, not just one, but several, to separate the outlines also of the mother bear from the babies. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some blues in there. We're going to do some blue marks coming out right on top of the purple. Very light again. This is not, we don't really want a lot of darkness in this picture in general because it is a picture of polar bears, and polar bears don't strike us as being very dark. So I move my way down the leg of the mother, continuing that shadowy line near the edge. So again, that's what we have so far. Now we're going to build that out a little bit, maybe with a little lighter blue. To make it blend a bit more into the browns. Because we don't want it to be so dark right there that we feel like, how does that even work? How does that even come in? And see how we're kind of blending it into the yellow a little bit? Gives us an opportunity to make it feel more natural and less of a very sudden change. A lot of artists will use blues actually to show shadow in their work. Think of Edward Hopper, if you're not familiar with his work. Oh yeah, a lot of times Edward Hopper will do that to really show off the shadows in his fantastic pictures. So we're just looking for all the shadow. Now right here on the muzzle of the mother, there's a lot of darkness. Almost like she's got 8 o'clock shadow here on her muzzle, like she needs a shave or something. But that actually is helpful in defining her face. I'm going to also use the blue to help outline her, so that later when we bring in that sky, we will be able to see it in contrast to a dark sky color. So I'm going to do a little more darkness here, especially right near the nose, because it is dark there. And around the ear, because that's where a lot of shadow is going to be, right here. And we're going to build it up towards the eye, like this. Now we'll go back to that lighter blue and we'll continue it onto the side of the bear. So it looks like that. And we'll just bring some of that blue into the ear. And we're going to bring some more of that beautiful yellow so that we get that golden tone too, right near the face. So it's not all blues. It's not all blues at all. Some golden yellows too. So everything you're doing should be in a light color weight, nothing really heavy. Definitely gonna come over here, add a little bit of that brown, and we'll put some more of that blue in there again. And we can go back and build that up heavier later. Can definitely build that up heavier later. Definitely want to build this up because it is dark around the muzzle and it is dark around the eye a bit. So I want to build some of those colors up, bring in some other blues, using the same crisscrossing hatch marks to do this again. I even want to bring some of that blue into the nose to kind of show that off a little bit. Trust me, this is going to work in terms of blues and yellows, because once we get all the blues and yellows into all the animals, they're going to read more like a continuous picture. Okay, so let's move on to the next bear, and we're going to start by adding some pretty shadowy colors like we talked about before into the ears, adding some purple in, darken it, and this too is going to be a very light yellow like in the mother bear. Gonna leave that heart alone for a few minutes. We're just gonna put a very light coating of the same yellow we used a few minutes ago. Like this. Just working one bear at a time. And then we can go back in and we can intensify, like here around a shadowy part, colors that we might see because of the shadow of the mother. Okay, like that. Then we're going to come in with that pretty brown. And we're going to show the same thing, the kind of marks of the bear, without getting crazy. We're just going to show the fur in the bear's face. And here we're actually going to turn our pencil to kind of show that the bear's face has a rounded nose. So now I'll take some blues to again start showing off the darker portions as it goes up towards the mother bear. Hash marks. Let's put some blue before we add the black into the nose here. And we're going to put a dark black right over that, because again, that's going to be one of those really dark portions. The eyes too are going to have a black to really show them off against the pale colors. Oh yeah, I like that. Definitely showing off the face by doing that. And we'll put some more blues and purples in here. And again, you can use a combination. You don't have to use one type of blue or one type of purple. And I'm going to put a little bit of blue down here for the lower part of the mouth. And like the mother, there is some blues that show off a kind of, you know, dirty, a little dirtiness around the muzzle where they've eaten. So it's not going to be perfectly white. And that also helps to shape the nose. Then in here, we can bring more of that fur in with the shadow. Colors of blue showing the fur moving up against the mother. Again, that helps us to see the contrast between one animal and the other. Now I'm also going to introduce just a little bit of green, keeping it in the cool tones, maybe even just a little bit of green around the mother. I think that helps to also, again, define the face. Okay, we're going to leave that heart alone for now, but now we're going to sort of move our way back to the third bear. So let's once again put a pale, pale yellow color down, very pale indeed. Just again to get a base color down. Again, just using a very, very light tone. I'm not going to do this section yet. I'm going to wait on that. But I am going to get light colors of the bear established. I think I will go back and add more hatch marks to the other bears too. But we're kind of just establishing the three bears, right? Trying to get the three of them together in unison in terms of how they're being colored and if they go together as a grouping. Okay, and then the ear, little color in there. And once again, we can go back to that ear and we can add some color. Darken the mother's here a little bit, since we're kind of going in that direction of, you know, it's not as quite as dark on this ear, but there's definitely color there that we want to maybe emphasize a little bit in contrast to the golden tones that we've been using around the ear to make it stand out. The edges here, we can bring some blue, just like before, to kind of give it a little shadowy effect. Same thing on this here, just a little bit, not too much. And then we can go in with that soft brown, again, hinting at fur by making quick little marks, hatching them and cross hatching them. So a hatch is a short little line. Remember, a cross hatch means you're just crossing over that line. So we're going to have a shadowy effect there. We're going to have some shadow over here. We're going to want to show, again, kind of marks of the fur coming down, like his fur would naturally do. But again, very, very lightly, so we can build up. Here we'll put a little bit more because we're going to definitely be adding some more darkness to show that shadow of the leg hitting the fur. So everything we do is very, very light. Very, very light as we build up. Now, we're going to start to bring in our blues, start showing those shadowy aspects of the animal. Like that, and a little darker near the edge. We can put the black of the eye in again. I know people feel like that gives it more of a understandable touch when we do that, and the nose, which actually goes a little bit up the snout there, a little longer than I originally drew it. A little bit here. Probably going to bring a little bit of that blue into this again, just to give it a blue cast. And there's some shadows here, and definitely from the eye down. We're going to get that same kind of muzzle shadowiness that we had before. And it actually gets slightly darker here because the mother's fur is a bit shadowy as it comes closer to the baby. So you can see how I'm bringing more blue in here. Okay, definitely a darker shadow in here, here, all the way down to here. And then of course here, where the leg is coming in. So we're going to get some more of that golden yellow now, and we'll add some of that to give more of that golden tone. We're going to come back to that heart. Don't worry. We will definitely come back to that heart. So let's take a look. Maybe lighter out here. It's definitely going to be darker in here. And that's where I think that brown can come in again. And sometimes what you do to bring out a shape is you don't actually darken the shape. You darken the forms around the shape. So around this ear, rather than darken the ear, we're darkening the shadow and hatching and cross hatching around it to emphasize it more. I think we could also come in here and do that near that ear and along the body of this polar bear. Now what about that heart shape? I'm thinking to come in here with a purpley blue shape that stands out but doesn't take away from the other colors in the picture. Like I want it to be there, but again, I don't want it to take away from everything. So I'm being careful about that. Now this is fur of the mother. So I'm putting a little light brown in there. I'm going to add some more yellow, because again, we're using that yellow base on everything, aren't we? And then we're gonna bring more of the blue tones. Notice how the blue shadows are always near the edges. That's where we're casting the shadows to help create some definition to each form. We are hatching and cross hatching right along those edges to help them stand out. However, this too is going to be shadowy here. So we don't want it to take away from the bear, but we do want it to emphasize the shadow between the bear's leg and the mother's fur. So it's going to be a bit shadowier than we saw before. I'll take some blues in there too to emphasize it, because it's a little bit darker right here near the mouth than it is in other places. Again, we want that nose to stand out, but we need the shadows. So we're creating that little textural shadow area, but not losing definition. Let's bring some more attention to the leg here by adding more hatch marks that are maybe a little bit more visible, suggesting the fur. Let's go in here and add some more hatch marks in here around the ears. Let's darken some of this here. Making sure we don't lose all the yellow. We want to keep some of that yellow in there, right? So we can go back in and add some yellow to make sure the polar bear doesn't look too bluish. It's all about layering. Now I think this polar bear down here definitely needs more attention. So we're going to be doing that next. This polar bear has a lot of fur, which is in more detail than the other two. So I want to get in here and really, really show some pretty hatch marks showing the direction of the fur. And you see what I'm doing? I'm just doing short hatch marks to show texture, to really make that bear feel like a textured bear. Let's take those right off the page, like that. And then over here, Once again, we might just bring this in a little bit more near the nose so that we can see it a little better. Darken the nose also, so it really is in contrast. Darken the nose on the mother. And again, adding a bit more purple where we want to show real darkness here. We want to show some in here. Here, where there's a real dark quality. You can actually go in there and just basically outline, but instead of using a black, we're using a purple and just outlining to show a little bit more detail. So that it really does feel like, whoa, you know, that is the edge of the bear's head, and it's leading over here. Take a little bit more blue, because we don't want this to be too drastic again. We want that blue to gradually move out from the purple and blues. So you can just do more X's and hatches, gradually moving your way out. And darkening even this eye a little bit more. So for now, I'm thinking that this is in a pretty good spot. A few more blues here. And what we're going to do next is start talking about the background and creating a sky-like feeling. So we're going to stick with the blues for that. As I talk, I'm of course adding a little bit more here and there. And then we'll reevaluate where we are with the two cubs and the mother and seeing where we want to do some more emphasis after we come back from doing the background. So let's stop here and I'll see you in a minute. Let's take a close look. Do you see those hatch marks? Just hatching and then creating X's over the hatching and using a beautiful range of yellows, blues, a little bit of green, not a lot yet, to make our picture so far. Now we're going to move into the background and we're going to create the look of an evening sky set against the bears. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. So we spent a lot of time hatching, cross-hatching, and building color on the polar bears, and we may go back to them. But let's now turn our attention to the sky. If you haven't seen Aurora Borealis before, it's the beautiful colored streaks that happen in certain parts of the world at night. They have these really magnificent colors, so I thought we might use that as a sort of a general idea for doing our picture here. So we're going to first start with putting down a base coat of blue, and then maybe adding, remember I talked about using some green, adding some green streaks to come through that blue. And it might even be helpful if we stop here for a minute and think about where those streaks might be coming. They kind of blend like pastels, so I don't think we want to do it in a way that makes the green stand out. It might be nice to just think of it as sort of like a soft streak going across the sky, maybe in a couple places. So we're just going to maybe put a couple lines where that might happen, just so we can kind of control where the blue interacts with the green. But right now, I'm just putting the base blue down. I think I grabbed a different blue from what I had a moment ago. Yeah, this is what I was using. And we're going to build that up. So again, we're just going to use it slowly at first. We're not going to try to go too heavy-handed. But this is where it can be very helpful, again, as we get darker, like near that ear. It's going to help us define the edges of the bears, so we will be getting darker as we build up. Right now, let's just try to get a base coat of a medium to light blue onto your paper, and then we can build it up, just like we were doing with the bears. Slowly, gradually build up is the best way to work with colored pencils. If you build up too fast, it's a lot harder to take away than it is to build up color. So we're just gonna put this blue here. We're gonna bring it down here, again, using a little more pressure when you hit the edge of a bear to help bring definition to the outline of the bear. We are gonna leave room for the green, like I said. But first, let's just get the base coat in. Let's block it in so we kind of see what the background's gonna look like. And you can see it's gonna be a really pretty dark night sky. Gonna leave a little room for the green there. So right here again, as we come up to the bear's nose, I'm gonna put a little more pressure on my pencil to allow the blue to help with the definition. I could even come back and as I darken this picture, really get in there with a dark blue or purple right around the nose, so that again, it's gonna help define. Here's some more purple. Maybe I'll bring the purple in there too, because we're gonna be adding some purple to the sky anyway, so you might as well use it where you think it would help, right? So I'm using it there. I'm gonna lighten the pressure though as I come out with the purple. Bring that blue in I was just using a moment ago to again continue to block the color in. And then we'll go in with some greens, because I don't want the greens to be totally wiped away by all the blue. Okay, so I kind of left it like that. So I'm gonna bring in again a slightly darker blue. It's gonna really help, especially sharpen that pencil a little bit near the bottom there. But again, let's block it in, come back and build it up. I have paper underneath my paper, so any of that extra color will just go onto a sheet that I have there, protecting the tabletop. Again, a little darker near the fur to help with the definition. Okay, so we have basically blocked in our blues, and now we can go back and start adding some green. I'm using kind of a yellowish green, but I'm also going to use another type of green, but I'm just gonna block in where the green streaks will be happening in the sky here, very lightly like before, so that then I can darken it just like I'm going to with the blue, okay? And we'll bring a little green over here. Those are gonna be my two little Aurora Borealis strips. Okay, so now I want to start going a little darker with that blue, going on top of what I just put down, darkening it, but I have to make sure it blends subtly with that green, so I can't go too heavy near the green. I want to get the green and the blue to kind of work together in partnership and not be totally different. So I gotta get the green and the blue working together. So I'm just going to bring a little bit of green in there, but let it blend into the blue as well. So it feels more like a streak rather than like, you know, an outlined bit. So again, blending it into the green, not going too heavy there, but going heavier near the bears. Blending it here, bringing some of that green up into here so it blends out a little bit into the blue, and then coming in with the dark blue. And now I am putting more pressure on the pencil, really trying to, again, build up the darkness, especially near the bear's fur. Even with the green, build up the green, so when it's coming out from the bear's fur, it's a little darker, and then it blends out into the blue and becomes lighter, like that. Come over here. This is where I started adding purple, and I actually might want to bring more of that purple back in, especially near the nose, to help it bring that darkness to the sky, and blend it into the green as well too. So there. Come over here, bring the purple in. Soften the pressure as you move out. Bring a couple more blues in. You don't want just one blue. This is a more of a periwinkle blue, mixing in with the darker blues and the purples I've been using. So that's really darkening the sky there. Now we're going to come up to this green. We already put that sort of moss green down. Let's put some of this green down. It's a little more of a grass green coming in. Then we're going to blend it into the blue nearby so it doesn't feel like an unknown entity, like it feels like it's supposed to be there. Now we're going to go back to a darker blue, like we were using a moment ago, and go over that green. So again, it's blending into the rest of the blue sky, but has that green streak running through it. Green coming up in here a little bit, and the blue coming across and darkening off the page with the purple coming into that. Look at that, very dramatic. Purples and blues, and I really like the way that purple looks, so I'm going to bring it more across the top of the sky now to really add some nice contrast. But I'm going to put a little bit of the green in there too, just again to make sure the green doesn't feel like a one-off, like it really does feel like it was meant to be there. I'll put a little more blue in that ear to tone it down just a little bit. Okay, let's bring some more. I think I'm gonna have to sharpen my pencil. Some more blue. Nice and dark up here. Over the purple, over the green. Darkening as it gets near the bear again. Putting a good amount of pressure on the colored pencil without trying to break it, because these leads can break easily, so you have to watch it when you use a colored pencil. If you put too much pressure, they constantly break on you, and that can be frustrating. And I say that from personal experience. Try to make that blue go right off the page, and maybe put a little more purple right near the edge here too. As I said, I was going to maybe bring that purple in. Now let's not forget the green that's going to be coming in for that last bit of Aurora Borealis. The darker green blending in, and then the blue going over it. And again, we want that to kind of be subtle, but yet be visible. We want the green to show, but we don't want it to be a show off. Looks like we didn't finish over here with the blue. So let's come back up to this corner and finish off that corner. So now we can go back into the bear and say, where does it need more attention? Like maybe I want to emphasize a little more shadow here, a little more shadow there. Maybe I want to show more fur lines with that golden yellow and brown like I did on the bottom. Maybe we could do that. Show more of the fur on the mother. Because remember, that was the first one we started on. So we might want to bring out more texture in her fur. That beautiful yellow color. I love personally the way the heart stands out. I think I might even bring a little bit of black to outline it, but I feel like we need more darkness down here. It feels like it should be more shadowy, so I'm going to bring more blues in. And this is the kind of thing you pick up on after you've done the rest of the picture. You start saying to yourself, something missing there. And I think, you know, it could be that it needs to be darker. It needs to be more contrasty to balance all, you know, the night sky issues. So it may not have been this dark in reality, but we're going to make it darker because it needs to be. And it is a shadowy area. It's a shadow where the mother's fur is coming in contact via her leg, and it is a shadowy portion of the picture. So we're just going to emphasize that a little bit more than maybe we would have originally. And that's feeling pretty good to me. I'm feeling pretty happy with this now. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe a little bit more blue here. That's what you're going to do. You're going to look at your picture and you're going to say, I need a little more time there. Maybe a little less. Maybe a little more color here. Maybe a little less there. Maybe a little more brown. You're going to see what you need, and you're going to go back and add it into your picture. I'm not sure why that purple got in there. I'm going to finish that off a little better. But I'm thinking this looks like a beautifully drawn picture inspired by the three bears here. So remember, this was our inspiration. This is our beautiful, colorful rendition of it. How did yours turn out? Did it turn out nice? Were you able to emphasize the gorgeous red heart here in your picture? I hope so, and I do hope you enjoyed the program today. My name is Doris Benter from Library Arts, and I enjoyed working with you today. I hope to see you again in future programs. So remember to stay creative, and I'll see you soon. Bye.